Welcome to TalentWise, a podcast dedicated to identifying and unpacking challenges and solutions related to the workforce. Each episode, we will hear from experts in their fields or industries who are fighting to better understand and adapt to shifting workforce dynamics. What are those dynamics, you might ask? Put most simply, the workforce crisis we've seen coming for decades is upon us, and most of us aren't nearly as prepared as we should be. Today, we will explore the critical need to attract more people to careers in trucking, specifically for tank trucks. To examine this important topic, we have invited our good friend Ryan Streblow, President and CEO of National Tank Truck Carriers, to join us on TalentWise. Welcome, Ryan. How are you today, man?
Hey, Danny, I'm doing well. Thanks again for the opportunity to hop on and have this conversation with you. I really appreciate it.
We're grateful to you, man. For those listening, over the past 25 years, Ryan has worked on numerous trucking industry boards and has been involved in various transportation organizations from the American Trucking Association's Image and Communications Committee to National Private Truck Council Board of Governors to the Truckload Carriers Association and the Allied Committee for the Trucking Industry. In 2021, he was named the fifth president and CEO of National Tank Truck Carriers, which has represented the interests of tank truck carriers for the past 81 years. Ryan's experience in the industry and in transportation more broadly has positioned him as a leader in the growth and evolution of our nation's transportation infrastructure. Ryan, thank you again for your time today. I know it is scarce, so we really appreciate it.
Danny, I'm happy to share insight and answer any questions you have.
Well, first question that comes to mind, you are from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, though you're in a much balmier spot today, which has the busiest airport, Oshkosh does, in the world for a week each year. What was your path from home to National Tank Truck Carriers, and how did you end up CEO of that organization?
Yeah, so you're spot on. I'm from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Even though I'm in transportation of ground and surface transportation, Oshkosh is well known not just for building military defense vehicles, but for aviation and being for 1 week a year the busiest airport in the world. So I was fortunate. I actually grew up about 3 miles from that airport. So growing up and seeing that event and exploring that event is always it's always special, right? Because it's a lot of the evolution of our country as well. It gets tied into that. It's kind of weird. I don't think any of us, when we look back at maybe our teenage years or early 20s, that we really understand that clear path of where we're going to end up, right? So we're always navigating those waters. And it was very interesting. I was in the marine industry initially after school and even working my way through school. And then we all had, the unfortunate experience of 9/11. And at that point, I really wanted to make a shift, something that was not 100% discretionary. And I gravitated towards transportation at that point. You look at our transportation industry as a whole, and I recall this thought process being, okay, what can't be outsourced? What can't be shut down? And what is going to be here for decades to come? And quite frankly, that is the infrastructure, built around the transportation industry and supply chain in our country. So I started out in trucking, the solid waste, municipal waste, and special waste. I had the opportunity, it was offered a position at J.J. Keller and Associates, which is a regulatory compliance company for the trucking industry. Spent 13 years there. During that period of time, I was a member of a lot of the associations that you had noted, most notably National Tank Truck Carriers. And one thing led to another. And in 2016, I made the change to come over to NTTC. And one of your questions there was, how, not just how did you get here, but why, right? And I look at it and I just naturally gravitated to the carriers and the people that are in this segment of the industry. They are salt of the earth individuals. They are focused on taking care of their people, taking care of their companies, and taking care of their communities. And it is just something that resonated with me over the years, something that I got to experience in a multitude of ways. And just it gives me the opportunity every morning, to be able to work with these fine folks and work for them and help be their voice in the industry. So as cheesy as the line is, that's I believe, if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Quite frankly, there's not a day that I feel I'm getting up to go to work. I have the opportunity to talk to some great operators out there who have become just amazing friends of mine, and we really focus on how do we improve this industry and this business, and the people is really the cornerstone of what we want to continue to build on and what has been built on over the years.
For those folks who have not had a lot of exposure to the industry, they may not really even understand, or they might take for granted the role of tank trucks in our economy and in communities across the country. Can you sort of share a little bit of context for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. The general public doesn't necessarily understand the role that we play. I'll share a little bit of data, and that might, I think, help bring things to light a little bit. When you take a look at the tank truck industry as a whole, we employ a tremendous amount of people. This industry in North America is worth about $41 billion annually, right? And of that, we are 5% of the commercial trucks on the road. So only 5%, but we haul almost a third of all of the tonnage in this country, right? So as one of our carriers has indicated in the past, I love his line. He said, "We're small but mighty," and we are, and we play such a critical role in the supply chain. So many things that maybe we use or take for granted on a daily basis was in a tank truck at one point in time. And oftentimes it's very early on in the manufacturing process. So it is a wide variety of products. I think the first thing everyone thinks about is really that energy side, right? The fuel that they're putting in their cars every morning. But if they would step back and look at the vehicle that they're operating to get to work, the paints and the solvents that were used to paint that vehicle, that was in a tank truck before it ever got to their car, right? The dashboard, the steering wheel, there's the center console, anything made with plastic, that was hauled in plastic pellets in a tank truck early on in the manufacturing process that turned into that dashboard, right? The windshield that they're looking out, that was hauled as sand in a bulk truck at some point early on in the manufacturing process. And beyond that, after they fill up their vehicle, maybe they head into the convenience store to get a cup of coffee, you know, a lot of the potable water, or maybe they're grabbing an orange juice that was hauled in a tank truck early on. Maybe they're grabbing a milk, right? That's clearly hauled in a tank truck more than one time from farm to the time that they're drinking it. So there's just so many products that we use, from food grade to chemicals to things that go into making baby diapers. I mean, there's just such a wide variety of products that we use today that, yeah, it plays a critical role. So when you take a look at overall the tank truck industry, you could say that if the tank truck industry stops, everything else stops, right? If we're not hauling the food, then the food's, to the manufacturer, the orange juice, the liquid eggs, the flours, the grains, the hot liquid chocolate, the gallons of wine that need to get bottled, none of these products are going to market.
No.
If we stop hauling fuel, our economy stops. If we stop hauling diesel fuel for other trucks hauling all the other commodities, the trucking industry stops, right? And same thing with the aviation fuel. We have a lot of our carriers that support our military. So, if they're not delivering Jet A fuel to the military bases, a lot of our national defense has to stop. When there's natural disasters out there, wildfires, hurricanes, the snowstorms that come through, we're that frontline defense to help delivering fuel and water to get people evacuated or keep them warm during maybe those cold temperatures. So part of that goes back to your earlier question. It is incredibly rewarding to be a part of an industry that's able to be that vital lifeline to our country.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, nearly 70% of the communities in the state of Alabama are served exclusively by a truck. So those trucks stop moving, and people in those communities don't have the goods that they need to sustain life. Full stop. So along that line, people power the industry. What are you and your
100%.
yeah, what are you seeing amongst your colleagues, amongst your members, your board? What are y'all seeing and hearing about today's workforce, and what are the challenges you're fighting? Are they getting better or worse?
So that great question, a bit of a loaded question, considering we're, I may be off a month or two here. I think we're in 25 or 26 consecutive months of what would be considered a freight recession for all of trucking. Arguably, I think when you look at the tank truck industry, we may be a little bit more insulated from that, although we are certainly impacted by that, and especially on the manufacturing side. But the people are the power in our industry, right? There's a lot of talk, and there has been for years, on AI involved in the trucking industry, right? Self-driving vehicles, et cetera. When you look at the tank truck industry, I would say most likely we're probably one of the last segments that's going to adopt that just because of the commodities we haul, the requirement, right? We're not just hooking up a trailer and driving it across the country. We are loading, unloading. There's a tremendous amount of training and knowledge that has to go into that. So, based on those requirements, you see the tank truck industry being that destination point almost for that professional driver or that professional employee in trucking, right? They want to get to that caliber. Oftentimes, our segment of the industry has been referred to as the quote unquote Navy SEALs, of the trucking industry. It's the elite of the best. And it's what it takes to operate in our industry. And that's exactly what we have. But what you're looking at today's world, is it getting better or worse? I would say it's different, right? So we're not just looking for, someone to turn a wrench or someone to turn a wheel, right? I mean, our segment of the industry, we're seeking, again, the best. And it could be from the professional driver, which has its own challenges, right? On trying to recruit that. And if we have a lag in that driver pool, maybe currently a CDL holder, we're going to have a smaller pool to pull from. So the driver side, it's very different. We want that high top tier, but then beyond that, I mean, IT is huge, right? Yeah. Just security and technology in our space is amazing. How that truck is connected to the trailer with technology, to the product, the monitoring, working with that driver simultaneously and then communicating back maybe to their terminal or their front office. You then need those folks in that front office, right? From dispatch to safety, security to your maintenance department and your tank wash technician. So it's become, I would say, a challenge in today's environment to find and locate that top tier caliber, to the extent where I think there's a lot of the industry that's really focused on training and educating folks to make sure they're bringing them up to speed.
There's so many competing sort of forces at work today. You mentioned the recession in trucking and its effect. We have a very quickly aging workforce. A huge number of boomers will be gone by 2030. There's not a lot of people choosing to participate in the workforce relative to sort of past economies. What is Tank Truck doing to address workforce shortages as an industry?
Yeah, so I think historically speaking, we were an industry that was often reactive, right? So we're always trying to address and put a band-aid on a problem that's already occurred. National tank truck carriers really stepped in to help lead the way a few years back, and I give a lot of credit to the leadership within our carrier base that stepped back and said, "Hey, times are good right now, right? But at some point, we're going to need more drivers, and they needed drivers at that time, but it's going to increase based on the factors that you highlighted: aging workforce, recession, et cetera. And we need to get out in front of this because this is a profession that offers individuals in a multitude of areas, which we just discussed, a really truly a career path for them, right? And a very beneficial career path. So we did step in and put up some funds and really focused on developing and delivering and identifying what that workforce challenges look like, who that target, demographic is. Got the opportunity to get connected and work with you, Danny, in the Markstein group. I mean, it's been spectacular, and really that what came of that was delivering and developing a campaign focused, positioning the industry as a viable solution for a career path. And that may be folks who are already in the industry. That may be for folks who are coming out of the military, right? I mean, we have a tremendous amount of a veteran pool within our industry. They've spent their entire professional career serving the country. National security domestically is a big component of the tank truck industry based on the commodities we haul. So it's a natural transition for those folks to continue to serve and have that viable career path. In addition to that is really showing that next generation. What does this industry look like? What does it hold for you? So, we're at the beginning stages, as I like to call it, right? Is really positioning that industry, our industry, as the place to be for folks, and some folks a 4-year degree isn't for them, and we can show them how. Don't if that's not a good fit for you, this is a great profession that is extremely rewarding and highly respected as well. So yeah, I think that's one step that we have focused on. The association has also stepped in a few years back in creating a workforce committee. So we have some great leaders in our industry that are involved on that, which really help lead that discussion on our campaign. In addition to that, they're really focused on some opportunities from apprenticeship programs to get folks involved. And then it goes beyond that driver, right? All the other roles and responsibilities that we need filled in our industry.
You've had so much experience in this industry. What advice do you have for other industry leaders who are tasked with or interested in addressing this workforce? I want to say crisis, but the challenges associated with the workforce at this particular juncture.
Yeah, one of the things that has really assisted me in that process is I look outside of the trucking industry, right? Because I mean, it doesn't matter what segment of the trucking industry, if you're in truckload or tank truck or flatbed, whatever it may be, we're facing the same problem. So it is trying to look at my network outside of the industry, understand from them how they're addressing that issue, should they have that issue, and what non-traditional paths are they taking, right? And I think doing that and working with you, Danny, it's opened up my eyes to saying, oh, there's different ways that we can go about doing this, right? But to that, it's getting that outside, I should say, outside input, if you will, what that looks like, while at the same time leaning on yourself, leaning on your industry as to what are the core issues that we're facing, right? Is it compensation? Is it the job? Is it the difficulty of the job? Is it a career path challenge that we're facing? So it's really looking internally at what those challenges are, and then trying to lead into those on the outside as well on what's working well for them.
You mentioned the career path. What is the pathway to becoming a tank truck driver? What's that life like inside the job?
Yeah, if you had said driver, so let's just stick with that
Yeah.
one role and responsibility, right? So as I had indicated earlier, it's we really have become a destination point. And we have been for prior to my time in the industry, but that pathway often looks like somebody might be coming out of high school and realizing, hey, I don't want to go to school for 4 years, right? I don't want to be a couple $100,000 in debt. I think there's an opportunity. And so they may look into the transportation industry. And same thing with the military side coming out, right? I mean, maybe they got some experience within the military and some of the equipment that they were operating, but really heading into transportation as a whole and acquiring their CDL. A lot of times, carriers want a bit of experience, so maybe they're getting that experience in the over the road avenue. I would say that's a little bit different opportunity today because not everybody wants to do the 7 days out on the road. Some absolutely love that. So there are some opportunities for individuals to take a look at our industry, acquire their CDL, go through an apprenticeship program, get connected with a tank truck or bulk carrier who is not hauling maybe a hazardous material and getting that experience. Oftentimes, it becomes in our industry word of mouth, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you got one driver talking to another driver, plus what they're maybe seeing being promoted in the industry. And a lot of times, what I personally witness is maybe if you stop at a Love's or a TA and you see a bunch of trucks there, it's kind of that admiration that some of those other
Mhm.
drivers have for the tank truck driver that's walking out
Yep.
getting in his truck, right? So you do see that connection occurring there. And then they're really seeking a lot of times what we have found, maybe they're seeking a different compensation, right? Maybe they're seeking a lifestyle change. And that's a lot of, or a career path. And that's a lot of what our segment of the industry offers. A lot of times you're going to see a higher compensation rate between tank truck industry maybe versus other segments of the industry, and it's based on the requirements and the level of professionalism, the level of education and training, and the endorsements that have to be done, and they should be compensated for acquiring that those credentials. So the compensation's there, and a lot of times it's a different tax bracket, right? You can have
Yeah.
someone out of high school making six figures delivering fuel on a daily basis. The other part is a lot of folks will come down that pathway because of the lifestyle change that it offers, and that is maybe they're not on the road or they don't want to be on the road for 7 days a week. Our segment of the industry, of high number of them are home on a regular basis, right? So they're delivering their products regionally, and then they're getting home to be with their family. They're getting home to go to their son's baseball game or their daughter's soccer game or see the school play. Have that opportunity on a Friday afternoon to take their family out, maybe boating or just enjoy time together. So a lot of folks, though, today's world that they look at it from the lifestyle that it offers, and it offers, quite frankly, better than some folks who go to school for 4 years. They have a high profile job and they spend their life on the road,
Yeah.
traveling, flying from one city to the next. So, there's times that it really comes into play from that lifestyle.
How can those listening learn more about careers in your industry and the important work that you and your team at NTTC is doing?
Yeah, so I think there's two solutions for that they can take a look at. I would say for opportunities and careers and that are out there, I would steer them to gotanktruck.com. That would be the first place I would steer to, and that is fueled and powered by our association. You will see no connection when you go there to the association because it's really about the industry and it's about the workforce opportunities and the career paths and how do I get to that point with a great interactive map there that has a lot of our carrier members, the commodities they haul regionally, the requirements that it takes to work maybe at that facility or that region. In addition to that, it's got a great overview. The type of personality that typically gravitates to it, and what the requirements are and where the future of the industry is. So gotaketruck.com. That'd be great for the industry if you want to understand, are you a good fit? And what does that roadmap look like? That's the place. If you want to see what the association is doing at National Tank Truck Carriers for the industry, that is tanktruck.org. That's where I would steal everybody. That is tanktruck.org. And that has a lot of the advocacy works that we are involved with. Our mission really built on a couple of pillars. That's advocacy, education, safety, and networking. And that's highlighted through our website as well. Really, the issues that we want to address on behalf of the tank truck industry, along with a lot of the solutions that we provide, and how we highlight those drivers and how we highlight those companies for the outstanding service and safety that they provide to the industry on a regular basis.
Other than going to one or both of those websites, what is one action you hope those listening might take away, or a message that you hope they might take away from our conversation today?
Yeah, great question, Danny. I'm so glad that you asked this question. Number one is it would be for those looking at the industry or just the general public, don't discredit the trucking industry. I think that you got to go back probably 40, 50 years. They were often referred to as knights of the road. And in the last few decades, we have small blips of recognition, right? COVID, the pandemic, post that, right? I mean, we would all be in a way different position right now if the trucking industry wasn't there to support us in this country, coming out of that. But it is it is a incredibly respectable job and career path. It can give you a healthy lifestyle. You will meet some of the greatest people and have the opportunity to work with some of the greatest people, from other staff members to ownership to the customers that you support. Incredibly rewarding. So I would say the one message: don't don't step back and go, well, a professional driver, that's really not a top tier career path, because it is. That's exactly what it is. And this country, we would, as much of the rest of the world, we would stop if the trucks weren't on the road. So I challenge everybody to take a different viewpoint.
There's a hero inside that tank truck.
There is
Um,
a hero inside every tank truck. You are 100% correct.
so we always ask a curveball question at the end of these discussions. What's something that people are generally surprised to learn about you?
Oh, let me ponder that one for a brief second here. I would say those that meet me in more of a business capacity oftentimes are surprised I'm a fairly avid outdoorsman. So it's kind of that therapy session that we need our brains to break from the work we're doing every day and get out and explore the world. And I thoroughly enjoy that. There's oftentimes I have a lot of self-reflection. If you're out in the wilderness and you think about the parallels between that and a professional driver having that experience and what they see across this country through a windshield, it's pretty spectacular. But when you're out there, you realize there's a much greater being than yourself to be able to create that environment around you. So I would share that.
Ryan, thank you so much for that. And thank you for joining us today. We are extremely grateful for your time. I know you're on the road. We're deeply appreciative for the relationship. So thank you to you, your colleagues, members of your board, all your member companies, for all the industry does to bring much needed goods to communities all over our country and beyond. It's great to see you, as it always is. I'm looking forward to the next time. Meantime, safe travels when you go home, and wishing you and your family a wonderful year.
Well, Danny, I appreciate it. Same to you and your family, and I would certainly reciprocate the comments and say thank you to Mark Steen for really bringing attention to workforce challenges, not just in this industry but many other industries as well, and how industry leaders can work together, collaborate, and gain insight on how we can battle this issue. So thank you for taking the time to invite me on here today.